an analysis on VAIOT for Majid, and I don't know, I was talking for 10 minutes. I didn't realize it disconnected, and oh well, sorry Majid. I might do it for you now actually. I don't know if you're going to be watching, but I could just go over it now for you. I have some VAIOT. I have some of that, so I am interested. It's in my list. What was I saying? If I remember correctly yesterday, maybe I should just kind of update the chart a little bit. Yeah, you see, I was kind of making some shit up. Let me just get rid of that. Trend based. Let me just hide these. Let me hide these from the volume levels. All right. So this is the chart. VAIOT. I don't know how you pronounce it. Whatever. And we had a nice impulsive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you know, we were thinking maybe A, B, C here, and then we could get in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it didn't come. Yeah, it didn't happen. So when you get an ABC like that, and you get another ABC, guess what? You're looking for another ABC. So you're forming a WXY formation, so a higher time frame corrective pattern. This is still valid, and this impulsive Elliot wave move would be invalidated if the price was to somehow go underneath this 0 point, which it obviously doesn't look like it's going to do. So what is that? Oh, that's that. Let's get rid of that. What's this one? Okay, that's fine. So as you can see, the price has come into the golden pocket once, twice, clear the liquidity, rejection from the golden pocket 2 times, and we're back down. I think that's quite good actually, because you kind of want the liquidity to be taken. You want the price to go up, take the liquidity, and then come back down. So what are we looking at now? Well, I still think this Elliot wave count is valid. And then what I've added is to these corrective counts, ABC, ABC, and looking for another kind of ABC. When I did a trend-based fib time, hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. Someone was at the door. All right, yeah, so basically, if I do a fib time, it's from this pivot to this pivot to this pivot. Let me just recreate the fib time. So I'm using the weekly time frame at the moment. The 618 is there. Got kind of found, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's quite interesting. The price is nicely trending down until it hits the 618 fib time, and you see it stops trending. You see that? Stops trending. So it stops trending on time. Doesn't mean it's going to go up, but there is a shift in the movement. There is a change. So that's kind of good to see that fib time is having an impact on the way the price changes. Still looking for some kind of ABC, but it's very different to these kind of wave motions. ABC, ABC. This is slightly different. No idea, actually. No idea how this is forming. Potentially, I really have no idea, to be honest with you. Could it be to there, to there? You can't really make it fit your bias. It's just, you just have to see what happens. But there is a 1-to-1 on this corrective move, which would be a WXY. Kind of there, I think. That would make sense. And effectively what you're looking at is this pattern, ABCD pattern here, isn't it? That's kind of what you're looking at. And so the other thing that you can do is a fib extension. We are at the 1-to-1 now. See that? We've been holding the 1-to-1. We've just come underneath it. So I don't know if it's going to come to the value area, or is it going to extend to go lower? I don't know. That would be correct in terms of the symmetry and the time. And so if I also do, I go to the daily time frame, and do a volume pull on the whole range, we haven't had much volume coming in based on this KuCoin, on this exchange. Most of the volume is down here, and obviously we have this value area high on KuCoin, which is here. So we haven't actually, we've had one test when the price came. That's a nice test. That's a really nice test. So there's a little bit of respect there. I think it would be nice actually to see if we can kind of have one more test on time, get a nice reaction, take the liquidity from that pivot. If we get a nice reaction and still kind of go under on time, maybe that would be where we could get an impulse, or it could be, obviously it could be much lower. I don't know. Anyway, that's just an idea. And that's basically it. And then what am I expecting? Well, let's just say hypothetically we do come down to the value area high for a test, another test on time. Then that's a really nice corrective ABC, isn't it? It's like an extended flat after a really nice impulsive move. What was that impulsive move? Oh god, it was like a 6,000x. No, sorry, 6,000% move. Crazy, yeah? 6,000% move. Up to the golden pocket. That was a 3,000% move. Wow. That's a big move, huh? We've had a really kind of large corrective move. What's that? That's like a 10x. Just from the bottom of this W to the top of this X. And then if we go to the all-time high, from here to the top of this pivot here, maybe I'll go back to the weekly time frame. It'll be easier to do this. Let's just say the value area high, the 1-to-1. Look at that, the 1-to-1 is all the way back at the all-time high. See that? That will be the 1-to-1 from there, assuming that we can come back to, that's when the impulse begins, so the value area high, that's the 1-to-1. And it lands perfectly with the all-time high. Okay, so from the value area high to the all-time high, it's a 5,500 or whatever percentage increase in value. It's a big mover if it was to do that, and I have no idea if it's going to do that. You want to count the waves. You'd expect 5 waves. And so the price is only getting down to the value area high. It's only about 13% lower than where we are now. The only thing that I'm not seeing is volume on KuCoin. We just have a look at the volume on the different markets. Let's say migrated. VAIOT is migrated from the open shell. Okay, that's fine. MEXC and KuCoin are kind of on par. BitGet, BingX, it's all spot. Any perpetuals? No perpetuals. It's relatively low volume, huh? It's not very high volume. 500k volume. Relatively low, but I mean, it's still okay. I mean, the market cap's at 25 million. Could it get back to the all-time high? That's a good question. And the one thing I can't see is how much trap liquidity is in this, in that rise, in that initial rise. So I'm not sure. I can't tell you if it's going to go back to the all-time high, but that'll be a 1-to-1. If it doesn't, then maybe we'll have to count the waves, but you know, getting to the 618, which would be there, would already be quite a big move in itself from the value area high to the 618. That's like a 1000% increase in value. It's like a 10x. You get 5 waves here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then maybe that would be a good place to capture profit. You'd have a smaller wave 3. And then remember, that's the top of the one. So whatever happens, if you get an impulsive wave, that's the top of the one. This would be the wave 3. Wherever the wave 3 lands, then you'd be expecting the top of the one here to hold as support. If it's there, you'd be expecting to hold as support for the last wave, for the wave 5, which would be another shorter wave. If you get a 1-to-1 or a bigger wave and you take the all-time high, you could get a deeper correction. You could get a deep correction, but you could potentially get another big final 5 wave, which is going to take you into price discovery because you've taken out the all-time high. So that's quite bullish to make a new all-time high. So we have to see what happens. So there's lots of different kind of possibilities, but I think a 618 of this move would be at about 0.8, and then obviously the all-time high is where it is, and that would be a 1-to-1, assuming that the VAH held as support, the price held as support. And the time pivot that I have is the 11th, the week of the 11th of November. A lot of coins are coming in to pivot in those 2 weeks, 3 weeks of November, and so obviously it's got something to do with the US elections and what happens there. So I'd be interested to see how what happens, right? So that's VAIOT. There's no point in me going through different levels, because we're kind of looking at the higher time frame moves. But what you can see, just looking at the candles, just the way all these wicks, these green candles, the liquidity's been taken. I mean, there's some liquidity here that hasn't been cleared. Some liquidity there at the launch price. So naturally, the launch price has to flip it back into support. But that's how you're going to get the waved movements where people take profit at these liquidity levels. I'd like to see some volume as the price moves up. Okay, so at the moment we're not getting much volume. Let me have a look at the volume. Yeah, a little bit here, but not much. When you see how much volume came into this token here, see that? It's a lot of volume. Not getting that yet. Okay. We don't especially want to see volume with increase in value. That would be quite healthy. Not seeing that just yet. But I'm on the other side, on the other hand, not seeing much volume on the way down. So it looks like a lot of people have bought and they're just holding, they're just hodling. All right, so that's VAIOT. One, two, three, four, five. Do you not think that's correct? 2, 3, 4, 5, some kind of ABC. 1. Yeah, this is a bit weirder. You're right, but it could just be like that. Doesn't really matter because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, it's not correct at all. Otherwise, it's all the way up to there, and you only have a 3, and this whole thing is kind of 4. This last thing is a 5. Because when I look at the this move here, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of this is a change. It's not a continuation of the impulse. The impulse is at the peak here. The impulse has ended. There's no more impulsive behavior. Yeah, this is all kind of one impulsive move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can kind of see the waves, even though it's hard to kind of internally count the waves. And then all of this looks like an ABC to me. It's like ABC. It looks like ABC. It's very different to this initial impulse. So the way that you was, maybe what you were saying is that this first part was a 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. That's the 3. And the 4 is all the way down to there. That's what I initially thought. I initially thought that because you come back to test the 1. 1, 2. There's no 5 waves there. That's like ABC, isn't it? I kind of think this was the count. Like something like that. It doesn't really matter where the 5 ended because you still have, could even end there, whatever. And then you have your last impulse into the golden pocket. That makes sense. Have a 5 count that ends in, you have one big wave. And look how impulsive it is. Look, it's up 5,800% in one wave. I think the move ended personally. And this whole thing now is one big corrective wave running flat, or whatever, extended flat. But the ABC you don't get. The way I do ABCs, I don't know, for me it's quite logical. I go from pivot to pivot, from high to low. I don't really kind of internally look at the waves. I'm kind of going for the motion, and it's guesswork, isn't it? And then the other thing I'm looking at are symmetry in the waves. Yeah, so like if it was to there, there's no symmetry in the waves because the waves are usually quite symmetrical, like A, B, C, D. So this could have been actually a bit higher. This should have been a bit higher. And maybe it was just there wasn't enough buy volume and or there was too much selling, and that would have been perfect, huh? And so you have basically what you're looking at is an ABCD type triangle or diamond shape, which is a corrective move. Yeah, the big one, this big one, huh? This whole big one, huh? You don't see it? You don't think that's correct? I think this last bit is a bit weird. And we've definitely XYZ. But a WXY is just a combination of ABC, ABC, ABC. I think up to this point we're good. It's this last bit that I'm not sure about. Because it just looks, it doesn't look like the rest. Maybe you're right, I don't know. We'll know after it happens. We'll know afterwards. It's like an extended flat or a running flat. But whatever it is, I think we're coming to the end. And when I look at this whole thing now from a distance, on a higher time frame, yeah, like this. The question is, the question for me was this an impulsive 5 wave? And it obviously clearly isn't 5 wave impulsive, is it? It looks like an ABC. It's impulsive, but it looks like an ABC, right? And when you combine it with this ABC, then you have one more. I don't know. But then the last leg needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying this needs to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like an A, B, C, D, E, or a 1, 2, 3. But let's look at it. I can't make head nor tails of that. Just like to keep it simple until it becomes more complicated, and just, I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. Look at this. Look at this pivot here. Look, you see it? The 618. From this pivot here down to here, the 618 landed perfectly at the top. So there is a little bit of symmetry in this move here. Usually when that happens, that's very corrective. And therefore, I'm giving quite a lot of weight on this next 618, this 1.618, based on this. And if I do it to this, a trend-based one, it's the 1-to-1. So it's quite symmetrical. and that's also the 1.618. I think there's quite a lot of symmetry here to kind of put in a time pivot somewhere in the second week of November also. And that, for me, that corresponds quite well with some other tokens that I've been looking at. So when I was looking at TRVL, you know, we had a really, TRVL also is putting in some nice time pivots, which I went over. And that's coming in at the same time. You see in November, 17th of November, thereabouts. Very similar time pivots based on the movement and the higher time frame. And not just TRVL, this, I've seen it in some other tokens. I'll kind of highlight it when I come across it. That's why I'm quite interested in that movement. But I mean, in terms of the count, I have no idea. I just think that we're still not impulsing, and we're still, this whole thing is corrective. Yeah, whatever happens, I think this whole thing is corrective. And the reason why is because look at this impulse. Look how crazy that was. That was a fucking 5,000, 6,000% increase in a very short space of time, over a period of how many weeks? $10 weeks. Beginning of November 22. November 22 through to January 23. Look at that crazy increase. And the rest, I think the rest is just consolidation. Now, there was potential for this to be impulsive, but it failed, because you needed to hold for this to continue, for this to be the next wave. This needed to hold, and it kind of tried to hold here. See, look, it was trying to holding. Then what you needed to see was this, and then you could say, well, that was your next wave. And actually the correction was just this straightforward ABC. That's what when I initially analyzed this, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that's your ABC, impulse, we're looking for one more impulse, as long as the rules aren't broken, which is that wave one mustn't come underneath that point, that wave one. The fact that it did means that this is no longer an impulsive count, it's a bearish count. So you have an ABC, and the whole thing is bearish. Not bearish, but corrective. It's a corrective count. And so now I've changed my corrective count into some kind of WXY. And I think we're coming to the end just because of the time symmetry. I'm not really too bothered about the movements, because it's obviously not the same as these. And I think the reason why there is a reason why it's not the same. The reason why it's not the same is because you had a failed wave 5 here. That's why it's not the same. Whereas in these other circumstances, there was no reason to fail. But here, we could have gone up. It could have continued, but it didn't, so it failed. And so that's why this correction is different to these other ones. This is just a bog standard zigzag. And this is impulsive. It could have been wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 for the next wave, which is a wave 3. Comes back down to test the area where the rule mustn't be broken, but it broke. Yeah, and it took a few weeks to break. And that's why this whole correction looks completely different from these straightforward ABCs. Now, in hindsight, we go, that's an ABC, that's an ABC. This is a failed wave 5. And so this whole thing becomes the last leg of this overall correction. And so we haven't actually had a wave 3 yet. I think that's the logic. Oh yeah, so it could be an irregular flat. Exactly. So this is a regular flat. There you go. And actually it's not an extended flat because you haven't taken the lows either. It's extended the top, but it hasn't extended the bottom. So it's an irregular flat. But I like the symmetry of the time. So I'm giving more weight to the time than the actual the rest. All right, I was going to do a couple of other things, but I'm probably not, because I really have to go now. It's 5. And it was fun hanging out with you, mate. I appreciate your company. I'll probably look at those other things tomorrow and spend a bit more time on, what was it? It was not. You can have another look at not. I'm just going down my list. So I really want to have a look at injective, not, and obviously I didn't have a look at WLD. But what I'm going to do is what you said. I'm going to have a look at the exchanges and combine those charts. All right. Good chat. Have a good day, and hopefully see you tomorrow. All right. Take care. See you, mate.